Okay, you probably thought we would get through a horror month with versus battles without, of course, having the Marvel zombies taking on the Black Lantern Corps from the DC Universe. Now, I do make some slight modifications, because the Marvel zombies really wouldn't have a reason to fight the Black Lantern Corps, primarily because the Black Lanterns wouldn't be able to see them. Since Black Lanterns primarily could only see people who have emotions, and can only affect people who have hearts. You know, the Black Lanterns fought Atrocitus. You know, he was essentially bright red rage, but for his heart, he had no heart. I would assume that the Marvel zombies would probably show up somewhere closer to like Cyborg Superman, who showed up entirely black because there was nothing, no emotions, no beating heart, because you really can't. They probably couldn't find them because they're dead, unless you believe that the animated did have emotions. And they might, because Marvel Zombies still retain some level of their intellect. So, I will have these two sides fighting each other, essentially primarily for survival. Things I'm going to have to remove. I am not going to have at the end of Marvel Zombies, the first run, where they had absorbed the powers of Silver Surfer and later Galactus. That was removed from them later when they started to do more and more issues. So, the premise of the Marvel Zombies was Magneto released a virus. He kind of got Sentry first. Sentry, of course, being kind of like a Superman analog. So think about a super fast zombie. Every person he bit somebody else. For the most part, they retained only their natural abilities unless their abilities involved regeneration. You know, Wolverine was shown with essentially his body falling apart because it couldn't recover from anything. And then he kind of cut off one of his own arms because it just became an adamantium skeleton and he couldn't do anything with it. Whereas the Black Lantern Corps, essentially, there are rings created by Necron that kind of have reanimated corpses attached to them. And they tend to get enhanced abilities. So on the Marvel side, you kind of keep whatever your natural abilities were. You know, if you were Thor, you still have the majority of the abilities of Thor, just you're now a zombie. If you were to be like Earth 2 Superman, you have all the abilities of Earth 2 Superman. You have all those abilities. If you're somebody who was different, let's say, like Sue Dibney, who was Ralph's wife, you're going to have additional abilities that you've never had in real life. So, let's get right through this. As always, there's the 9 criteria. We're going to start with intelligence. Now again, I'm comparing two concepts, not two individual characters. The Marvel Zombies retain their own intelligence. The talking aspects from the Black Lanterns were just to agitate and to try to get an emotional response. Therefore, heighten emotional response, remove the heart, power the main Black Lantern. They never really showed a real supreme level of intelligence. Primarily, they were like talking smack the whole time, just to get any sort of rise out of people. You know, they never really kind of developed any sort of real battle strategies. You know, they pretty much were, I'm going to keep on coming at you until I defeat you. So a very standard zombie mentality. Versus, you know, primarily free thinking with some level of survivability as well as some level of teamwork. So I will definitely give the edge in intelligence to the Marvel Zombies. Fighting ability. You know, yeah, you saw the Black Lanterns retain a level of their initial fighting abilities, but they really need to rely on them that much. Against the Marvel Zombies, they really needed to rely on that because the abilities for them to die are a lot more vast. Then, of course, most of your Black Lanterns, you know, were, you know, Green Lantern members and a vast majority of other members, not the ones who are, you know, the best fighters in the world. Versus the Marvel Zombies, where the whole planet becomes zombies. Strength. You know, Every Black Lantern is super strong. Invulnerability. This is going to be kind of a weird one. Because most of the Black Lantern, most of the Marvel Zombies, have lost a large degree of their invulnerability. So they are standard zombies. So I feel the invulnerability edge to the Black Lanterns. The Black Lanterns can take a lot of damage, but they almost never stop. Where what we saw in the Marvel Zombie series is if you hit them with almost anything, you're going to bust them open, they're going to have problems, they're going to fall apart. You know, they are legitimate walking, rotting corpses. Now we're down to durability. The Marvel Zombies never ever recover. If you cut off one of their arms, that's it, they're going to be armless. Doesn't grow back. Black Lantern Corps, you can do whatever you want to them. Short of destroying their ring and sticking them inside the core of a planet, but they're going to keep on coming. They recover at a ridiculous rate. You know, as long as the ring is attached to any portion of their body, the whole body recovers. Oh, you know, I left out speed. You know, if you weren't born with natural speed, you don't really get it. Where the Black Lanterns, they do all get a level of enhanced abilities. That, of course, also being speed. So now we're down to the final set of energy projection, X factors, as well as versatility. For energy projection, that's kind of a tough one. Because the ring didn't give every character energy-based attacks. If you weren't born with them, you didn't have them. And normally, they didn't really use them that much because they want an in-close kill. So in-close kill requiring the removal of a heart, really not going to use that much in the way of energy attacks. They use it to wear them down, but the kill shots have to be in close. And the first time they use them, they realize, oh, yeah, when I do this, I'm shredding my opponent. Versus people who are definitely going to try to fight as far away as they can. Because in close combat does not favor the Marvel Zombies. At all. They want to do a kill from a distance, go in close and eat. Where you get a lot more of an in-your-face sort of battle from the Black Lantern Corps. So I will definitely have to give, you know, the advantage to the Marvel Zombies just when it comes based off of survivability. The majority of the Black Lanterns are very much in-close fighters. Because it's hard to talk smack to an opponent if you're far away. Versatility. You know, all the Black Lanterns kind of have groupthink versus all the independent thinking you can have in the Marvel Zombie universe. Zombie, Pym, Stark, and Richards come up with some very, very unique ideas. And they kind of need to. Because when you're free-thinking zombies, and you have to work together for survival, versus you're a group that's sole purpose is to collect enough hearts and get enough energy to bring your master in, you know, the amount of thought process that you need to put into it, the amount of versatility you actually really require, isn't overall that high. If you have enough physical abilities, you really don't need to have, you know, those additional sorts of things. But then it comes down to that X factor. Well, the Marvel Zombies you can destroy with almost anything. I mean, they're the standard brain damage, and that's it, they're done. Versus, what can you use to destroy a Black Lantern? Well, you need to have light-based heroes, not that many in the Marvel Universe. Maybe Dazzler, if you can figure out that it's got to be, you know, like a super intense white light. Or a combination of a Green Lantern's light and something else. So I kind of actually have to give, you know, the X Factor, definitely, forward for to the Black Lantern Corps. What it takes to defeat them is a lot more difficult for the Marvel Universe to come up with. Because they wouldn't know, oh, duh, we need Green Lantern rings. Green Lantern rings tend to not go to people who are dead. Yes, I know there's Drix, yes. But there's a very low tendency of those rings going to the deceased. Could they potentially come to that conclusion by fighting them? I don't know, that's kind of a bizarre thing to try to come up with while you're fighting creatures like this. If you had enough experience with the Green Lantern Corps, you might think, oh, these things have rings. Who else had rings? Could the Mandarin's rings work against them? No, they're vulnerable to magic. So what it comes down to is, the Marvel zombies you can defeat almost any way. If you get in close and you're like Earth Superman, you can grab a hold of Iron Man's skull and do this. That's it, he's done. He's toast. If Black Lantern, Green Arrow, launches an arrow into Hawkeye's head, that's it, he's done. The reverse happens, he pulls the arrow out of his head and he reforms around it. No big deal. So, in my mind, if these two were to actually fight, I got this idea because Arthur Sudom, who is was the artist for Marvel Zombies, normally wears a Black Lantern Corps t-shirt or hoodie when he goes to conventions. So if these two were to actually fight, there's enough just physical abilities and the way they're designed in the Black Lantern Corps to be able to overwhelm the Marvel Zombies. If this would be a fast fight, it's the Black Lantern Corps all the way. Because you need a certain amount of time to figure out what it is that it takes to defeat this new next unstoppable force. Where from the Marvel Zombie standpoint, they want a slow, protracted fight to figure out how they can defeat these guys, and if they can defeat these guys. But if they have multiple clashes here and there, the Marvel Zombies, with no ability to regenerate, are going to sooner or later fall to the Black Lantern Corps.